Wilder here. Let me tell you about my guest, Kimberly Dvorak. She is the award-winning national security and border security investigative reporter for TV, radio, and print media. She is also the senior foreign policy advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. We're going to dig into that. She is a TV correspondent for CW6 News in San Diego, as well as One American News Network. Her website is thekdreport.com, and she should be streaming live right now on Facebook. Hello, Kimberly.
How's it going, Chuck?
It is fair to partly cloudy today. How about you?
Same.
All right. So, something going on in Afghanistan, huh?
Oh, yes. Well, we actually finally got the end of the peace talks with the Taliban, and it was a meeting that included China and Russia and Pakistan as well, to discuss what was going to be happening in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. And yes, that's exactly what the United States State Department did. That's what they named Afghanistan. It's the Islamic Republic. So I think as journalists are going to be, that's how we're going to be referring to this moving forward, since all parties signed the document. Couple of interesting notes on this, that there was going to be no military action in the country, that terrorism would not be allowed to carry on within the country of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and the Taliban most likely will be taking power, since they control roughly 75% or so of the country. So this will be back into the Taliban's hands, and this goes back, years, back in 2014, where I know we talked about that here, that the National Intelligence report that consists of all the intelligence agencies said that Afghanistan was going to fail, that it would go right back into Taliban's hands. And here we are, 6-7 years later, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're leaving. The Taliban will take control of the country, even though this information was released on Friday. The State Department here released the information on Friday that the U.S. would now begin to decide what's going to come home to America equipment-wise and what will stay. This morning there was a suicide bombing that killed 21 civilians in the country. So apparently the Taliban's already not abiding by the agreement that these countries all signed together in Doha, Qatar.
Don't they realize we have a brand new president? Shouldn't they be shaking in their boots? Be careful of what you do, or no?
Well, I mean, it's just not a surprising, thing what's going on inside this country. It's a tribal nation. It's not a country. It's a tribal nation, and it has all of these different tribes and sects within the country, and none of them can get along with each other. So how do we expect them to get along and raise their kids to go to school and live the America dream that we've been pushing onto them? It's ludicrous. We've talked about this dating back to 2010, when Obama came into power. He called this the right war. Well, the right war, this is what the right war looks like. It costs trillions of dollars for the U.S. taxpayers. And who knows how much the interest is on all of this stuff, by the way. It killed more than 2,400 U.S. service members were killed. Another 20,000+ were wounded. Afghanistan cannot take care of itself financially. 70% of their budget comes from foreign nations, primarily the U.S. So if we leave and no longer give them the $8 billion a year that we're giving them, then they really aren't going to, have a government. And I have a hard time believing even the Biden administration would send money over to the Taliban, because that will indeed be who actually takes up the country and the ruling of the all the different sects within their country. That's where it's going. Are we going to give the Taliban $8 billion a year?
I'll tell you something, Kimberly. I had a news story earlier today, and you're amazed that Biden would spend that money, send it But look what's going on with Iran. He's making this deal
Oh,
with
yeah.
he's going to swap 4 different prisoners, plus they get $7 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I think what I'd say, I think that Democrats, not maybe Biden, I'm not certain that he even knows what's going on with this deal in particular, but American people really aren't going to put up with that. I mean, where's the $8 billion to maybe ensure that kids can go to school in this country? That, maybe the roads and bridges do need to get fixed in this country. This $8 billion could presumably go there. This could be used to, educate students, K through 12, apparently all the way through college now. The money is going to terrorists. That's what is going on. And everything we virtually have built over there, it's been systematically just blown up, literally. They don't want to live like Americans.
When you talk about what we're doing, 2,400 people, American soldiers, killed, 20,000 wounded, and then you've got all the money and the equipment and the training and all this other stuff, and we've left places before and we've just left a whole bunch of expensive equipment there because they say, well, it's cheaper to leave it there than to bring it back. We've seen how that works out.
Yeah.
Hey, on note number 3, you talk about we take note of the April 14th announcement by the United States and NATO, U.S. NATO surface forces will begin a responsible withdrawal by May 1st, 2021, and conclude by September 11th, 2021.
Yeah.
Is it really necessary to use, the September 11th date?
No,
Something like this?
I think that for this administration, they believe it's a symbolic nature. But in point number 4 that was released by the State Department, it said that we fully expect the Taliban to fulfill its counterterrorism commitments. So a terrorist organization is going to fulfill counterterrorism activity within that country. So why use September 11th? And then in the very next bullet point, you're referring to counterterrorism, which the Taliban will continue to do. And that Russia is upset about this deal because the Taliban, way back when Russia left, they were very, very staunchly strict on the use of drugs within their country. And since they decided and learned, much like the cartels have done, you always are looking to increase your market share, your business, so to speak. Right now, Afghanistan is the largest supplier of the poppies, and the poppies that are coming out of Afghanistan aren't going to Mexico and are not coming through to the United States. They're going to Russia, and they're polluting, and they're having the all the same effects that we're having with drug overdoses in Russia. So Russia is keenly aware of that and realizes where those poppies are coming from. And one would have to believe that if you don't want to fund the terrorists that are using this money to commit terrorist acts inside their own country or out, that what are we doing with these poppy fields? Why aren't we just putting napalm down on these poppy fields to incinerate them, get rid of them? Because that's where they're getting their money. If these terrorists can't fund their operations, they can't pay their terrorist people down the line, and then they become weaker and weaker. Like ISIS has pretty much been decimated by the Trump administration. Al Qaeda has been very, very small. The growth with the terrorist movement is in Africa at this point. So you have to question, and you have to just when you look at these common sense issues that are plaguing this tribal nation, why are we still doing this? And when we know we can get rid of those poppies in a heartbeat if we want to, where we can completely leave like we have left other countries and saying, we wish you the best of luck, we did what we could, and carry on. It's your country, it's your tribal nation to run.
I wonder how much of poppy product is reaching the U.S. of A. Any?
Yeah, not much, no, because we here we've got plenty of poppies growing in Mexico, Central America, and South America. So they're all coming up that. Yeah, they're coming up. They've got a pretty good market share on that and what's coming up to the U.S. It would be too costly to move it all the way from Afghanistan. However, Russia is right there, so everything is moving in through there. So that that really affects them, and I suspect that's why they were also part of this group that decided that that the U.S. was going to leave, that the West was pretty much going to leave. We'll leave behind an embassy with skeleton staff that will remain in the country. But again, let's also keep in mind this is a landlocked country that provides nothing for the United States except for the rare earth minerals, which the U.S. Gave control to the Afghans, who sold the contract to China. So we really have nothing to do with Afghanistan. So
what we had, we ended up going to China, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just these are. I mean, again, I'm Bond, and I look at these things. I'm like, this is kind of common sense stuff that pretty much, if you were talking to anybody on the street, they would look at this and go, "What? What are we doing? Yeah. And why are we spending the money to do this?" Because here we go back to 2014 when the national intelligence, all the agencies collectively got together and said that this country will go right back into the hands of the Taliban, and that's exactly what they did. They went back. That's exactly what's going on right now. So you look at that 6-7 years there. Why were we there? Why did we stay after that point? And I think most people realize that's the defense industry that really pushed this, because they were making billions of dollars on financing this war.
Yeah, and it sort of seems like those defense contractors you're talking about. You think, well, let's see now. They're still around. They're still got their pocketbooks going, and the cash registers are ringing. And I wonder how the Biden administration could get away with it under this, under them. I mean, they're going to have a lot of say-so. They always have, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, and if you remember back in December, actually late November, the Trump administration came out and said that they were going to be completely withdrawn from Afghanistan by December 31st. Well, all the war hawks came in and said, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. And, I suspect, and administrations do this. I mean, the Republicans and Democrats do this when it gets to the end of a term. It looks like something positive is going to happen. They'll push it so the next president can take credit for it. So the Biden administration here is going to be allowed to take credit for the troops being withdrawn, although all of that legwork was already done under the Trump administration. Okay. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. We're seeing America's longest war coming to a conclusion here by, September 11th, which it's very, very hard for me to. Hopefully they're out by June 15th. That might be a better date for them to shoot forward than, looking at that, especially when you look to see what's going to happen to that country once we leave.
Yeah. Basically, you got to do Common Core math to try to figure out what the heck's going on, I guess.
Yeah. Except for you also have to remember that, the U.S. Congress has appropriated billions of dollars in contracts in Afghanistan, and that money cannot be touched because it's been appropriated by Congress. So Congress has to unappropriate it. And so far, over the last several years, there have been, moves trying to do so, and they've been shut down each and every time. So, this is going to go on. We're supposed to be funding Afghanistan through 2023, which means, billions and billions of more money is going to go over there when it could be, spent here in this country, building electric cars.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Now, also, see that Turkey is involved in this in a conference.
Yeah, I think, Turkey's looking at this from a strategic standpoint. They've gotten harder and harder, hard line as far as, a dictatorial country, and they are not going to be considered any longer to join the EU, which is something that they wanted to do, is become a member of the European Union, which will not happen. So they're looking at other countries like Syria for strategic purposes, and they're looking at Afghanistan because it's easy for them to control, and they can, do so without, putting many resources into the country. So I think, somebody to watch for is Turkey to come in and show their presence within Afghanistan. They could, get in there and mix it up with, with China over the rare earth minerals. That's something that possibly could happen. But yeah, Turkey's looking, within its region to, gobble up more and more, regional territory in hopes that maybe the Ottoman Empire can, come back and reside, and now Erdogan, the president there, can be dictator for life and preside over the old Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. And then under the oh boy, clap your hands, I see that also they want to bring in the United Nations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Bravo. Bravo.
Yeah, really.
They do. They work wonders.
Yeah, really. We're going to take a break in about 30 seconds or so. And when we come back, I want to look at point number 12 in your excellent report here. Strongly advocating a durable and just political resolution that will result in, and it goes on and on and on and everything. And I think if this happens, then we know there really is a Santa Claus there. Kimberly, for sure. Kimberly Dvorak, Wilder, with Kimberly Dvorak, Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. And you hear us discussing this, right? All very responsible what's going on there.
Yeah.
Kimberly, congratulations. Did you
Yeah.
take your stick over there yet? What we need, I tell you. Isn't it, you say where they, item number 13, called on all Afghans, including the government of the Islamic Republic and the Taliban, to ensure the terrorist groups and individuals do not use Afghan soil to threaten the security of any other country.
Yeah.
And this would be the first time in how many million years?
Yeah. Well, let's keep in mind, too, that in Afghanistan, they have a fighting season in which, every spring, it's time to go fight. Whether it's your tribe next door that you don't like, whether it's your kid's arch enemy, whether it's the government that's kind of sitting in Kabul, or whether it's the Taliban. They have a fighting season, and they've done it for eons, as you said. So I think a lot of the stuff in the State Department release of what's going to happen inside Afghanistan, I think none of it sticks. Obviously they're already bombing government buildings that killed 21 people today. Obviously they didn't really take this document too seriously. And what they have also had tried to work on is, there have been millions of Afghans that have been displaced by this war, and the State Department would like to see some of these refugees go back to their homelands. However, if this turns into a giant rush to see who's going to control the country from here on out, they're not really apt to go back. So that is another issue to consider. Afghanistan, over the last 20, 21 years now, they've lost 60,000 of their soldiers, people fighting. That's a substantial loss for a small little landlocked country. So you're looking at people that fled this violence because they didn't want to live in this violence, and now we're supposed to expect that the Taliban and others have signed this document, and now all the kids are going to get to go to school, and now everybody can go back to picking up their day job, working a restaurant, whatever their day job might be, which they don't do. But it's just that situation. I think that it's so tone deaf, I think, to expect that some things like this, they've set them up to fail is what they've done. And moving forward, we shouldn't have been in this country as long as we were after 9/11. The retaliation after 9/11, that was perfectly appropriate. And after we went in, did our thing, and came out, and a month, 6 weeks, that's it. We should have never gone in and stirred up this, and we should have never thought that this we could nation build and these people were going to like us. And keep in mind, 92% of Afghanistan people that were polled, I believe it was Pew, did the polling on this. They don't even know what 9/11 is. 92% of the country.
Really?
So
92%?
92, wow. Yeah. So why are we there? Why are we there?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then there's always a possibility, China could say, we'll come in and clean up all the mess and from all your wars and build you some new railroad tracks and roads. And
perfect. If that's what they want to do, and they want to invest their money and their resources, after Russia couldn't do it, America couldn't do it. If China wants to pick up the staff and do it for another 20 years, bravo for them. Go for it. I encourage them actually to do that. I would take away from their stealing us.
Maybe it'll work out there, hon. All right. Hey, Kimberly Dvorak, D-V-O-R-A-K, Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy, and her website is thekdreport.com. We'll do it, I think, next Wednesday.
Yep, next Wednesday. On the books.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.